comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So last night I did a gig in a fucking squat. I had been booked to do this gig twice before and it got postponed, so finally I got to do it last night. And do you people know what a squat is? Because I've had a few messages going, what is a squat? One of my mates even messaged me that. He's like, what's a squat again, man? And I'm like, somewhere you will be living in the next 2 or 3 years. So basically a squat is a building or a residency that is either unused or abandoned. They get the electricity connected and they drag in a couch they find from off the street and a mattress. And then they call that place home. That's all there is to it. If you want to squat, if you want to live rent-free, all you need to do is find an abandoned building or just a place no one's using. And if you can get into the premise without breaking in, you now have squatters' rights. But the law is you can't break in, because if you break in, you're trespassing and you can be arrested. But if you just rock up and the door's open, you can stumble in, bring your couch, bring your fucking sleeping bag, and the place is yours. The police can't throw you out. You have squatters' rights. In Australia, squatters' rights are pretty strong. Even if the owner of the place you are squatting in comes in and says, hey, what the fuck are you doing here? This is my place. You just say, I'm fucking squatting here. No one was using it. It's my place now. And if he says, I'm going to call the police, it doesn't matter because the police can't kick squatters out of a place. If you want to get a squatter out of your fucking joint, it's a civil case, not a criminal case. So you have to go to court and get some sort of injunction to get them out of your place. Squatters rule, man, and I wouldn't worry about trying to find a place where the door's open either. Just fucking break in and say the door was open. That's what I would do anyway. I would smash a window and then pay $50 to get the window fixed after I was inside. And just say the door was open. And how do I know so much about squatting? Because I looked into it very seriously in my early 20s. I was just going to rock up somewhere and start living there. But like everything else in my life, I got distracted and I was too lazy to even do that. I was too lazy to even find a place to live in for free so I didn't have to work. So this squat we went to for this gig, it was less of a squat and more of a fucking hippie commune. It was fucking huge. It was 2 factories put together and they had knocked out like a little Cinderella wall to go from one factory to the other. And it was fucking decked out, this hippie commune squat. There was a pool table, there was a stage, there was a music setup, there was some fucking trippy lighting. There were bunk beds everywhere. There were 2 fucking bars in the place. It was like a 22-year-old me's paradise. I don't know how much 22-year-old me would have been gelling with that crowd though, because I wasn't fucking gelling with them last night. There seemed to be a leader though. There was a leader of the squat and he was walking around in a tiger like furry suit. He was an English guy just strutting around, organizing everything, looking like a tiger. There was a couple other dudes walking around in miniskirts. They were sweet too. There was a lot of like pink hair and like fluoro green hair. A lot of glitter. There was a lot of glitter. Glitter and costumes. And they were having a big fucking party. It was a big fucking party. So there were lots of strange characters there. And that particular type of strange character, they don't normally take a shine to the Boyle. The Boyle is a little bit rough around the edges for the old fucking hippie pink hairs. So I knew going in that the gig was going to be a little bit rough. And in gigs to crowds like that, I normally piss them off pretty quickly. I did a fucking hippie festival, I forget what the fuck it was called, a few years back, about 3 or 4 years ago. I was there for 2 nights and it was one of those full-on hippie fests, like fucking chicks with bushes and hairy armpits, and dudes that look like they've never held a job in their entire life. So I get on stage the first night of this festival, and the first thing I say is, I fucking hate all this love bullshit you've got going on here. Oh, peace, love, give me acid, damn. And I just start pissing them off, and people just start walking out of the crowd. And I just continue the rest of the gig down that line of thinking. So that was a disaster, that gig. The very next night, I did exactly the same thing, but the only difference was everyone had had a big night the night before and everyone was like fucked up and coming down and hungover and they've had a fucking bad experience during the day because it rained and now they were ready to hear the misery. So I got up the next night, did the same thing. I'm like, this fucking love festival stinks. What is this bullshit? Everyone's like, love, love. And I go to the organic coffee bus and they're charging me $6 for a fucking coffee. The organic fucking coffee bus doesn't mind a little bit of capitalism, do they? And I continued down that line of thinking and fucking killed that night. So I suppose it's just when you get them. Anyway, last night, I get on stage. I was second in the lineup. The crowd was quiet because they were fucking stoned as fuck. Some of them could have been on acid. There was a lot of analyzing. That type of crowd, they really don't want to hear any of the rough stuff. So I get on stage. There hasn't really been any laughs before me. The MC did like fucking 30 minutes. And then the first act went up and then the MC came back on and did another fucking 10. Anyway, I go on stage and I go, this place is fucking awesome. You should be proud of yourself. If I had found you people in my early 20s, my life would have been so much fucking different. I wouldn't have a family, but I'd be fucking good at the bongos. And that got a huge laugh. I thought the cunts were asleep. So that woke them up and they're ready to go. They're ready to fucking laugh now. But that was the end of it for me. I thought that first thing, that was a pretty good riff. I might just keep riffing instead of going into some fucking material. So earlier I had heard some people talking about the rave cave and I misheard it. I misheard it as the rape cave. Innocent mistake. And I was like, the rape cave? Fucking hell, they're really open-minded here. So I thought, why not? I'm on a roll now. Let's fuck around with this rave cave, rape cave shit. So I'm like, what was that cave you were talking about earlier? And people were yelling out the rave cave. I'm like, the what cave? They're like, the rave cave. I'm like, oh, rave cave. I thought it was a different R. I'm like, I thought it was the rape cave. And as soon as I said that, it was over. Silence. And I'm talking fucking dead silence. Except for fucking Tim Logan, the MC, who went, oh, Boyle, why did you do that? And I'm like, I fucking knew that was going to happen. There couldn't have been more of a contrast between the first thing I said and the second thing I said. But once you've turned the crowd against you with a failed rape joke, it's real hard to get them back on board, especially with my set. My set is basically hate crime. So I go from that into like teasing black people, then teasing autistic kids, and you know, it's hard to pull them back. So I'm like, I've got a bit about vaccines. That will work here for sure. So I'm like, who here is going to take the vaccine? And I was expecting no one to be taking the vaccine, and half the fucking crowd say they're taking the vaccine. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, now this isn't going to work. And then someone fucking threw a tinfoil hat at me. So for some reason, I put on the tinfoil hat. I don't know what was going on. This is an out-of-body experience now. I put on the tinfoil hat, and it has like a giant dick on the tinfoil hat. So I'm standing there, completely humiliated, to silence. These goddamn fucking hippies. Then I threw the hat off, and I finished. I did my new sort of closer. And that worked. Somehow that worked. After the hell I went through for the previous 9 minutes, they were still on board with my final joke. That must be the quality of that fucking joke. Because they were not into laughing at the Boyle, that's for sure. But that joke got them, and then I got the fuck out of there. And you always know you've done a shit gig when some fuckhead in the audience comes up to you and is like, fuck, it takes balls to do that though, man. It takes balls just to get up there. Like, shut the fuck up, you big giraffe fucking cunt. And then I went to the comedians at the back and I was like, that was a little bit rough. The start was good and the end was good. It was just that fucking whole everything in the middle. And I'm like, what happened? Where did it go wrong? And by that time I had forgotten about the rape stuff. And they're like, the rape stuff, dude. Why did you say the rape stuff? I'm like, I thought it would work. They're like, how did you think that was going to work? And they're like, look around. Do they look like the crowd that are into rape jokes? And I'm like, that's a good point. I probably should have skipped that one. So anyway, I'm looking forward to my next squat gig. I wonder if I'm going to get invited back to the squat gigs. But you live and learn, don't you? Just chalk that one down to experience. Put that in the manual. Don't do a half-ass fucking riff about rape at a hippie commune squat. These are the things you can only learn with experience. All right, I'm fucking out of here. See you the fuck later.